How hard did you push it? Till I black out? Yes. Numerous times, yes.
What's happening, Municipals? This is Ashton and producer Jack. Mr. Figueroa is out doing God knows what, was supposed to join us. Just kidding. He's at his job.
Yeah.
Um,
He's
but
selling
yeah,
a house, man. He's selling a house.
allegedly. But I'm here with producer Jack, who I play most of my golf with, so it's fun to finally do a pod with you. And we're here to talk mainly Corica North, kind of all things Corica, but you've already played it twice, and we thought it was time to chop it up. So, how's it going for you, my guy?
Good, dude. I'm excited, man. This has been like one of the most fun weeks of quite a long time. So, very excited to go to an opening of a public golf course. I think we've got one other one to look forward to this year. There's something I don't think I've told you in Big Chris, but you might see it on the Municipals chat. But there's something cooking there. So. Anyway,
Unsubstantiated rumor. I love it.
unsubstantiated so far, but yeah, it's exciting. As you know, Corica Park is like, I mean, I think both of us like one
It's
of
our
our
home. It's our
favorite,
home track.
yeah,
Yeah.
home track in the Bay Area. So it's great to finally be able to play the full 18 on the North Course, and that's what we did this week on earlier in the week, midweek, they had kind of a media preview day, and Amateur Golf was kind enough to get us a spot there. So shout out Pete. Thanks for getting us out. That was a really fun day. I I wasn't expecting like to get like a eight. I think it was like an 8:50 tee time. I thought the tee times were going to be like, yeah, like come in at 1 o'clock and play. And saw the tee sheet and I was like, 8:50. That's perfect. I'll have the rest of my day to myself on a Tuesday. So, um, and then you and I played this past Sunday for the first like opening weekend. So it was really fun. I think there were, I want to say there were like a bunch of us. I mean, we had a foursome, but also Nate got to play very early on because I booked a tee time that I gave to him. So great to have at least our community, our circle of people being out there to experience it. So I'm stoked, man. It was really fun. We're here to chat about our, what I like to call our first impressions. Like maybe in some other format, we'll do like kind of uh, a redux or a rehash of like, hey, like the course is 6 months old. Like, what are we thinking? And, maybe we've played it more than a handful of times, but overall, like, I think we could start off talking about kind of a little caveat as far as the conditions, and then go into like our thoughts on the difference between the North and South. Um, you brought up a great point when we started. We could kind of see the clear difference as far as like the conditioning. I think mainly on the greens and some of the surround areas on the um, um, between the front nine and the back nine, really. So, the greens on the front nine are all rolling really well up to Corica standards, which, if you play a lot of golf in the Bay Area, is always, some of the fastest greens, especially during the summer. They used to put like their stimp meter down on uh, right by the pro shop. They'd tell you like 11, 12, 13, whatever it was. Front was rolling great, but the back, a little bit of the conditions were, I wouldn't even call them, they were like a little spongy and kind of like um, a little slow on some parts of the greens, which is to be expected, but overall, like the course plays great. Um, y- we'll talk about routing and stuff, but any thoughts from you as far as the conditions go?
Yeah. Well, to take it back 1 second, I want to kind of really piggyback on something you said. Um, it is very cool to have the opportunity to open a golf course, and many people I think who aren't part of our community, like a lot of people have played North. I mean, chunks of the chunk, chucks of the chuck. The last couple of years has been on the North course and the front nine of the North course, and I think it's an important. Yeah, it's already become kind of an important part of the community. But to be able to kind of like open a golf course that I know we're gonna play like so much, and you know, it's one of those things you can forecast a little bit. And I texted Nick and I was like, dude, I want to give it a second, and I'll kind of go to your conditions point in a second, hence why I give it a second. But I was like, I can just see you coming up in October and we play, you know, South in the morning, kind of get our butts kicked, and then go have a lot of fun on the North in the afternoon. And, you know, I'm hopeful that they'll give the par three course a little bit of love. But I mean, when you put all those things together, you know, big driving range, short game area, grass range in the back, which I think you have to be kind of a quote unquote member for, big putting green, great restaurant, championship course, North course. I mean, I don't think it's ridiculous to say that it already was, but I think now with North opening, it just means that like Corica is going to be like arguably one of the best public golf facilities in the country. Um, my one caveat is like, you know, I think to really feel that way, you got to be an Alameda resident, because Alameda residents get a tremendous discount that even Bay Area people don't. But I'm to the point where it's like, I'm happy to pay $90 for a perfectly conditioned golf course, because you're going to pay 65 for one that's not in any good condition, or kind of, it's kind of mid. But I just want to say that like I think it's really special. But to kind of piggyback off of that, Jack, you know, I've it's funny, I recorded this pod with Dash in January, and it still hasn't come out because we've done such a good job on getting out content. But Dash and I eventually will talk about, you know, we both went to Sand Valley separately and talked about Sedge Valley. And I think that really helped my perspective, because I think that I would have been like a little bit bummed, but it's exactly what I expected. Because like when I played Sedge Valley, and you'll hear me talk about it, the first couple holes I played, I like totally laid the sod over a wedge. And it was because like the only way to describe it is like the turf interaction was really weird. It was like, I don't know, it's just like I've hit a lot of wedges in my life, and like just the way it was like firm, but it kind of like gave underneath it. And it was one of those that like I talked to the head pro after, and you know, he wasn't apologetic at all, because it's like it is what it is. But he's like, yeah, he's like, by the time he's like, if you guys come back next summer, it's going to look and feel and play totally different, because you know, there's sod lines a little bit, so like the ball can get kind of caught in some spots. And then at least what we had, which Corica didn't have yet. But usually, if you think about what happened, like at the Memorial when down in I think Dallas or wherever the Memorial is, you know, it was like soft fairways with sod that hadn't grown together yet, and rock hard greens. That tends to be how golf courses are. I know it happened for my dad when they opened up the new Riverside course in Atlanta Athletic Club. So what I would say is, for people, like, it's open, and it should be open. Like, it's not like you're not going to be like, oh my god. But like the way I would think about it, this I kind of thought about this. You know when you bake, and I don't bake much, but like you know like with cookies, how it's like if you pull the cookies out and they're fully baked, they're going to be hard, right? It's like you pull them out when they're a little bit soft, and then you let them cool, and then they're the right thing. Basically, Corica has pulled the cookies out of the oven. You just got to give them a little bit of time. I don't know if that's a month. I don't know if that's 5 months. And I'm not saying people shouldn't go play it. Just understand that, like, if we were to go back, honestly, like, I'd probably just play, like, winter rules. Because there was a couple spots where I, like, made a double from 50 yards where I was like, well, the ball's kind of, like, sitting nestled in this spot that, like, is not going to be there, you know, when we go there in October.
Like 2 or 3 months from now or something.
Yeah, so I would just tell people, like, yeah, like, it's not all the way there, but I think the big thing is, like, the front nine is fun. It's pretty straightforward. But there are some, like, really compelling golf holes on the back nine, and ones that I really can't wait to see when the place is, like, firm and fast the way Corica proper is. So I know that's a lot of words, but I mean, I think that it's, I just want to say, like, it's not totally ready yet, but that should not be a reason not
factor.
to go.
Yeah.
And also not to say that it's not going to be incredible. Like, I think it's going to be awesome when it's fully ready. Kind of like I also think about, no, I should have brought this up sooner. Pasatiempo. Like, I played the front nine, like, the week it opened. And, like, it was bizarre to play Pasa because the greens were, like, a little bit spongy. They were rolling, like, a 7. And I'm like, what the hell? And you go to the back nine, and I, like, six putted the first hole because it's like a rocket ship.
Yeah.
But then now everything, and Jack, you can attest to this. You played Paso recently, and like, I bet those greens
Yeah.
aren't spongy now. I bet those greens
No.
aren't right because Paso. I played that in November of 2023,
Yeah.
and now it's been 18 months, and like that place, from what it sounds like, is a racetrack. So just give it some
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. I think course conditions aside, that like if I was to put a like, hey man, I think it's 85% there. Because like you said, it doesn't stop you from playing the golf course. It's not like your ball's always gonna be, in some crazy weird lie. It's just there's gotta be some things you can expect. Like you should expect like you might hit some shots that feel perfect off the fairway, but they might react a little bit differently. And, that's just kind of the reality of opening a new golf course. It seems like, at least from people that I've talked to about it. But I think aside from like certain like reactions off of the fairways, like basically I think it's just it makes the greens like very, very minorly shaggy until they're like kind of getting, you know, the same agronomy treatment, like the same kind of like weekly treatment or whatever daily treatment that they do. It's only going to get better every week and every week. I would say like because of the Bay Area climate, it's probably going to be like 95% there in like 2 months or so. Like if we play it in probably around like June, I think it's going to be like unnoticeable. Like there might be certain things like maybe the fescue's not that grown out yet. And that was the one thing I was gonna make a point of is like, hey man, like the fescue is like short right now. It's gonna be a little taller later on. That's the one thing that like we'll talk about when we get to the routing and kind of the shaping of the whole thing, I think, which is it's very I didn't find myself much in those areas. I don't think I really hit into like those like kind of penalizing areas. If you're familiar with Corica South, think the area between the 17th hole and the 15th hole, the two par fives, like there's that huge fescue area that you could like if you hit a bad drive, your ball's gone. Um, that part's not quite there yet, so it's probably actually a little bit forgiving at this point. But yeah, like there's, I would say like probably by June it'll be in pretty good conditions. Um,
Yeah, and the other thing too that I think is that I really want to stop and appreciate is like I didn't look for the signs when we were out there, but I saw them on social, and this is a shout out to. I mean, it's Aunt Pete who kind of an amateur golf who run the social, but they're doing a lot of stuff too. Where it's, I want to be perfectly clear when we're talking about conditions. I'm saying like seam lines on the sod and the greens being a little bit like mushy, which again that's normal. But like what they're leaning into that I think is great is like dormant Bermuda. So like
mm,
for people who are like, oh, it's not green, it's like it's gonna feel different. Where I think Corica North when it's like if I like I'm sure you're right, it's gonna be great in a couple months. But if I go to like if I think you and I play at their next fall in one of those San Francisco days where it's like 85 degrees and that place is like a racetrack. I want to be very clear from a conditioning standpoint. I think it's going to play at the old course, right, where the ball is going to go and go and go, and it's going to roll and roll and roll and roll. But it's going to be like you're probably going to hit wedges that might have a little bit of like dirt when you hit it because it's going to be like, and I think that's a good thing. So I guess the big caveat is like we're not saying it's not green. It's the seam lines, it's the bunkering, but I think it's going to be like Corica South is like a little greener and feels like more Australian sand belt. Or like to me, at least the way that like with the revetted bunkers, and for people who
mm,
don't know, that's like the stacked sod look. It's going to feel like you're playing like Heathland golf as opposed to Australian golf. But it's so cool to have that kind of diversity where
yeah,
some of the holes are like touching each other, right?
yeah, no, and that's a great like pivot point for I think what people can expect as far as a difference between South and North. Like if you're looking at it just from the most basic standpoint, I think North is going to be that fun golf course versus South is kind of more of a championship style golf course to me. And but then you also think about it from an architecture perspective. I'm not very well kind of versed on how to talk about golf architecture, but I played a little bit of the South Course after playing on the weekday preview play, and even on the first tee of the South Course, it was like, yeah, like this feels like it doesn't feel that different, but like this is a different style. Like you could, if you hit a shot on the first tee at North Course and then you go hit a shot on the first tee on the South Course right away, you're going to be able to tell that it's a different style of golf course, which is, I think, one of the probably one of the biggest things that people should be excited about is for golf sickos like us, like, yeah, think about a 36 hole day where, dude, like you're playing both of those golf courses and you're going to have two totally different experiences. You're going to hit so many different styles of shots between those two golf courses. Or where I think that's just kind of how, like, I was trying to think about it earlier where I was like, hey man, like, how would you describe the difference between the two? If you look at the scorecard, uh, lower slope, smaller overall golf course than Corica Park South, and it's just, if you look at just those two things, the scorecards between the two, you can clearly see like one's supposed to be more of a championship course versus the other one where, hey man, like, yeah, you could have like a great time hitting all these different styles of shots here too. Um, and I think one big thing that sticks to me as far as the difference between the two courses were the variations on the green sizes, especially between, I would say, it's very apparent on the back nine of the North Course. There were a lot of greens that were, like par three that has a very small green compared to if you go to all the par threes in the South Course, all the greens are virtually the same sizes. If not, they're always on that bigger size of green. So I think that's the one thing that's going to be really fun about the North Course or the one thing that I really enjoyed about it was the variation of, like, yeah, it's a short course, but it asks kind of a lot of these different questions too. Um, what do you
Yeah.
think about the differences between the two?
Yeah, I think that. And I think the other thing too is I think that if you're going to play well at Corica South, especially, I mean, we normally play it back at, that's like 68, or, I mean, let's be real, whenever we play there, it's actually the fucking Reese Jones tee. So it's like 7,000 yards whenever we play there. But you get some wind. I would say that Corica South, you're just not going to play well unless you're hitting driver well. Like, it's just, you're not going to play well. Um, I think that I could. There's a few holes where it's required. We'll talk about that later on. But like, if I think about it, especially when that place gets like running, and actually now that I say it, the front nine is running, right? Like the
Hmm.
fairways on the front nine are running. If I think about it, you really don't need to hit driver. Like if you're gonna go like truly attack the par fives, I guess. But like north, you could just have like your whatever you want. 5 wood for me, it's my 17-degree hybrid. You could leave your driver out of the bag, especially when it's running. I mean, I think I could probably hit two hybrid on the green,
Yeah.
on two, like, there's a lot of holes you don't need it. So I think that's the big difference is like, I think that for it being and I like that for a championship golf course, like, we've talked on here, me and JD, and like, okay, let's go see how we're playing. Yeah, like there's a lot of holes, especially on the back nine of South, where it's like, you get back to that stretch around like 13, 14, 15, where it's like, yes, there's red stakes and then OB left, and there's not
Yeah.
like you need to hit a good tee shot to score. Actually, you just need a good tee shot to not make triple. And there's not a lot of that at North. Like North, there's a couple like really challenging holes. Like I would actually the hardest hole on property is probably number 11.
Mm.
But like I think the big difference is that. But the other thing that's worth noting is, for me at least, the first time I played it, we had a hell of a day because actually Aaron, who we played with, mentioned this today. Yesterday for us guys, it was 35 to 40 mile an hour wind. The PCC was +3 yesterday.
Wait,
So
what?
the the PCC it was +3. I've never seen +3 before. So you look at your
I remember
scores, +3. So like,
Did we
okay,
get the adjustment? I'm
yeah,
looking right now.
yeah, seriously. So it's like, okay, yeah, it's like I think it's like I think from the back tees it's like a 70 rating. But yeah, like when you're talking about like it blowing, I mean there were holes where it's like again, it's such a different golf course in that wind because the big thing is to your point, Jack, is like the greens are big, but like number 7 for example of Corica North, it's like it kind of looks like a big green, but like you kind of need like in that wind, it's like I absolutely killed my drive. I had 80 yards in,
Hmm.
and my wedge got up in the air, went in the back, and the water in the back, and I made double, and like that can happen so fast. But to be clear, it's a friendlier golf course, and also more opportunities. Like eight, you can drive the green with a 2 hybrid. There's definitely some opportunities to go get it, but North is just more friendly. But I do think it's worth noting from a routing perspective. I don't mean this in a bad. Well, two things. One, going back to you said earlier, Jack. I think it's awesome that South and North feel super different because I really hate when I play like when I do go to a place. Oh my god, they have 36 holes, and it's like this is all just the same. Like,
Yeah, it's the same
why
golf
why
course.
are we building? Yeah, it's like is it a 36 hole golf course or like it's if it's 2 courses, make one steak and one shrimp, right? And they do a good job
Yeah.
with that. But I think also what's interesting that I don't really have an opinion on, the front nine and back nine feel pretty different. And I don't just mean from like I'm not talking about conditioning. They feel pretty different. I think the front nine is a lot more of a handshake and the back nine is a lot more of like you need to hit some like good golf shots else you're going to
Yeah.
get exposed. But I think that's actually pretty cool too. So,
Yeah. Cause
did
I
you feel
think,
that though?
yeah, cause I feel like, and it's weird because I've been like over the last years that we've been playing Corica South, like every year I feel like I've gotten better at playing golf. I've only been seeing it from my perspective of like I was probably playing it. I started playing it as a 15, and it was like yeah, like I could just kind of bunt it around and like try to make up and down, which I feel like I've always been pretty good at the
I
South.
mean, when I first met you, Jack, I remember you like hold out like 3 times. You
Yeah,
hold out at Carica, number 10, 11, like 12 or 13. I
14.
remember you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was like
So
two out of the
so
first times I played it. I was like, is this guy like the best wedge player in the world?
yes,
Narrator. He was not. After that,
not.
oh,
It's just horrible. Uh, but yeah, like Corica South is like, yeah, you have to hit like almost every single hole you have to hit, whether it's off the tee or for you to score, like you have to hit a good approach shot and a good drive, or one
yes.
or the other. Whereas I think at Corica North, you can kind of like you said, like leave your driver in the bag, like just hit for me it'd be like 3 iron, 4 iron everywhere, and you could still have a good time, or like
Yeah.
your approach shots aren't going to be like that long. And
Yeah.
there's not, I don't think there's as much like overall like penalizing areas, in terms of like
No.
putting you in either like you said, red stake or putting you in a really bad angle. Like
I
there's
would I would
always,
actually say now that you say that out loud, for someone who like hit like I don't hit it like super far, but like I would actually say that if I look at where I made bigger numbers,
mhm,
even though I actually you can attest that outside of my weird top drive on 2, I hit my driver great yesterday. But my driver actually, having not seen the golf course, my driver put me in trouble. Like that bogey I
yeah,
made on the
just,
par 5, number
yeah,
14,
yeah,
it's because I hit driver in the water, not thinking I could get there.
yeah,
Where like now that I've played that, I would just hit 2 hybrid 5 iron probably, and
yeah,
still hit
exactly.
and still have an iron in on a par 5.
Yeah.
Um, so I would actually say that like sometimes driver can kind of get it can kind of get in your way actually.
Yeah, I think it's like it asks some different questions than South
Yeah.
does, where it's like South, I think you have to hit a good drive into the right angle into the green if you're
Hmm.
trying to have a good approach shot, or if you're trying to attack a par five. Whereas like I feel like at the North Course, like you said, like you can either hit driver really good, where same hole that we're talking about, number 14, I hit driver great and I had a 9 iron in.
Yeah.
Where like you
But
said,
but
like
but,
you
but in
could
fairness to
play it.
you, I mean that area you hit it into was insanely tight. I mean you're talking like
Yeah,
water left, water right. You threaded the needle and you almost made eagle and it was great. But that's cool. I mean, is hitting like 9 iron into a par five a bit stupid? Yes,
yeah,
but like because of the design of like yeah, like you just got like totally rewarded by hitting it into a 30-yard
really tight.
window.
Yeah,
And like most golfers, 99% of golfers should just pick a club that's like no more than like 255 off the
yeah,
tee. And then sort of like as Andy Johnson talks about, like the credit card, right? Where it's like, hey, I'm not going to take on that risk on the first shot, but
yeah.
I'm taking on the second. Or for you, I mean, you hit a great iron shot, but like that actually looks pretty easy. It was like hit it in the middle of the green and just have it
And
feed
then
down to the hole, and like, okay,
yeah,
cool. But the tee shot is what rewarded you by doing that.
yeah. That's
But
what
I
I mean.
love that.
It gives you options where you could, like if you're in a match and driver's not working great on the first three holes in the front, hey man, just take out your 3 iron, take out your 3 wood, take out
Yeah,
your hybrid, whatever it is, and you could still score
yeah,
relatively well. So I think it's great not just for, lower handicap players, but I think it allows everybody else to enjoy it as well. Like, if I was to Sherpa somebody who's like a 15 or 20 handicap, I'd be like, hey man, like 200-yard shot, like you're gonna be surprised that like you're gonna have like a 9 iron or an 8 iron in on this hole.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I like that a lot
And
about it.
I think the other thing that's worth noting that's one of my favorite parts about both courses is, in general, like we talked about, the greens are both relatively large. I think the big thing about that Corica does an excellent job of is, I said this to Doc one time. It's like they're like quadrants, and so what I really like about that is, in general, both courses have big greens, which in theory you're like, oh, that's great, it's super forgiving. There are a lot of places like, and especially I don't know what they were doing on Sunday, because not only was it blowing 40, but they put the pins in some places where, like, for example, the par five, it's this like massive, I don't know, what is that, a 50-yard green or something? It's massive. But the pin is like
Huge.
tucked in this like just teeny tiny little back area. And it's funny because I didn't walk up, I didn't look at it. And so for me, I was like, okay, I'm gonna hit kind of a little like trap draw wedge in there. But by not walking up, I walked there and I was like, wait, there's all this room, right? And so what I really like about it is it's not penal in the sense of like you're
Mm,
gonna be able to quote unquote hit a lot of greens, but it really, really rewards like understanding what's going on. Like for me, for example, number one, the pin was kind of tucked back right, and I actually hit that same kind of draw wedge back in there off the hill, and I had like not 8 9 feet for birdie. And so what's really great is like if you're somebody who is especially too like if you're a newer golfer, or like like if I play with Liz there, which I haven't yet, but like you're trying to hit hybrid, you can bump it up, you can kind of hit a hybrid and kind of bump it up there onto the green, but you really, really get rewarded for hitting it into the right tier, because on
yeah,
each of these greens there's 4 5 6 7 areas that they could put
yeah.
it. Like if you think about the par five number six, right? Like
Hmm.
there's that giant swale in the middle. Like they could put the pin there like 8 different places,
Yeah.
and actually they're really hard unless it's in the swale. So that's just another thing about Creek I appreciate, is like the routing and stuff is interesting, but I think that the greens on both courses, the greens are what make that place stand out, and then you combine that with the greens being like always, always in great condition. Like you and I, like that's I think how we kind of fell in love with Corica playing it a bunch was we're in an El Nino and it's been dumping rain, right? And it's like the one play it can dump rain all week, and if we are going to play on Sunday, yeah, there might be some puddles and we'll move it out of them, but like the greens are going to be great. And so it's like really cool to have the greens be not only like condition wise interesting, but like when Nick talks about Torrey South and he's like it's a circle and it's flat, or like Harding, right? And then you go play Corica and it's like it's like this like roller coaster of like, oh my god, there's all these options and it's hard,
Yeah.
and it's hard and easy at the same. You can hit the green a lot, but man, if you have a bad putting day out there and hit in the wrong spot, you can.
Yeah. I will say on kind of the as far as the big difference between the two, the way I was my initial impressions on this like new nine basically, and being able to play all 18 holes on that course. Like for me, Corica South has always been like a tough but fair question. And then you go to Corica North, I think it's more fun, but fun and fair. Instead of a but, it's an end. Um, 'Cause like we said, like it's pretty accessible for all sorts of golfers. But then the variety of the green sizes that you see on the back nine, it's like, yeah, like, hey man, like you're gonna hit it into this huge green here, but then the next green is like like a very almost I wouldn't say postage stamp like, but it's like, hey man, it's a small green, like you have to pick your spot, like you're saying, to be able to score there.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like I think the way I've always looked at Corica South is tough but fair. It gives you a lot of different options, whereas the North Course to me is like it's fun and fair because you have a lot of options, whatever your skill level is. So, um, going into the routing question of things, I think there's definitely stuff that I tried to point out to you guys in the group while we were walking up to them. Particularly, one of the things I was surprised about was that tee box on, I think it was number six, right? Yeah, number six moving back because that used to play like a 450-yard par five, but now it's like
Yeah.
extended by 60 yards. I will say, like, I did enjoy the routing because it kind of like it goes out and then into itself, and then it goes back in and then a little out. It's kind of almost like it's like this little, what would you call it? Like it goes like this, like a wave basically, if you look
Yeah.
at it from the aerial point of view. Um, One of the things that I really enjoyed on the routing part of it is like even though it's a smaller piece of property, there were still, well, I guess this is one big difference with the South too. Like South feels very flat, right? Like, but if you go from that like front, like first four holes, it actually goes down and then back up.
Hmm.
And then same thing on the back, like there's a point where the golf course goes down a little bit and then back up to go on the finishing holes. Um, I was thinking about that, I think on 14 or 15 the other day, and I was like, oh man, that's actually pretty cool. Like it feels like a flat golf course, but there's some kind of level change, which I think I really enjoyed. And as far as the routing too, the other thing was like it is a pretty easy walk, I think. It's just certain parts of it do get like farther away from each other, like the tee to green on some of the places were a
Yeah.
little bit of a walk, which some people might find either annoying or interesting. Um, but I
No,
think they
I
route it
think
pretty
I think
good.
honestly, just annoying.
Yeah.
I mean, because I think the hard part is like I mean, anyone who's listened to this pod knows that I can be a bit of a like pace of play czar, and like the hard part is like yesterday was, I don't know. I feel like every round everywhere you play now is 5 hours, and that bums me out. But I couldn't tell if it was like it's a new course. I couldn't tell if like, in fairness, it was blowing like 40. But I think I do think a part of it is, and I give them credit for finding it, but it's kind of like Steven was saying, like it's a bit of a problem with like, sort of modern golf architecture, right? Is like they're taking that property and like basically extending it for all it's worth. And with that comes, longer walkbacks and things that don't. I was just listening to Garrett Morrison talk about, one of like the 13 like McKinsey principles, and McKinsey's whole thing is just, like tee boxes right next to greens, and like they didn't do that here. But in fairness, I think the golf course would probably be what, like 5,800 if they didn't do that. And like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, like people might disagree with me. Like, I'd be a little less interested if it was that short. Like, I know like Sedge Valley is doing that, and I think a lot of shorter courses are in vogue. But it is interesting where it's like it's not optimal, but I get it, right? Because like a good example is like number 4, the par
Hmm.
3. Like Steven took a picture. Like the tee box just off the back green of 3 looks a little ridiculous, but I will say that hole before was fine, but like you were never hitting more than a 9 iron, and if there's no
Yeah.
wind, like a pitching wedge.
Yeah.
We're now getting up there being like, okay, from this angle, I have to carry this death bunker, and I've got a 6 iron in my hand. Like that is a much different golf hole. Like that is a much, much, much different golf hole. And to your point, the next one, the par 5, went from being like, driver. If you had a good drive, it's driver 6 iron, or
Yeah.
I've seen JD hit driver pitching wedge when the wind was right. It's not that way anymore. I mean, it's like that's a true 3 shot hole. So I was a little bummed out about by some of the walks, but also like they're trying to best to keep it up with like not that people walk off and be like, oh, that's a pitch and putt, because it's not a pitch and putt. You don't need driver, but it's also not a pitch and putt,
Yeah. I
especially with
will
wind.
say, yeah, to your point too about the wind, I think we should have talked about this a little earlier. We kind of mentioned it in passing. The wind was like
Insane.
gusting. Yeah, it was. I looked at the
It
forecast
was like
because we
banned in
went.
summertime. It was
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. We got there, had coffee in the morning, and I, when I was looking at the forecast at 9 a.m., it was 20, 22 constant, and it was like 45 gusting. And then by the time we were teeing off, I looked at it again. It was like 15 to 18 constant, and it was like 25 gusting. But by the second hole, I was like, there's no way this is 25. Like this has to be, and we'll show them a couple of the videos later, but like, dude, like your drive on what was it? One, two, was it three, right? Like
Yeah, I hit it. I hit it to 30 yards.
yeah,
Like
you
I almost drove the
virtually,
green,
yeah, on a 400, I think it's like a 415-yard hole or something.
and they extended that hole farther back too.
Exactly,
Yeah,
yeah. You almost drove the green. You drove it into that little gully, and I was like, yeah, man, I kind of want to hit 3 wood or 3 iron here. I ended up hitting 3 wood, and I had like 60 yards in. So
yeah.
it was like very,
I mean, the better example was 7. I killed my drive, and I think I had 90 yards to the middle of that
yeah,
green. And I hit it in the water, which my guess is an 88 yard 58 degree went like 130 yards.
yeah.
It just got. I tried to flight it, and it just like off the face. I was like, oh fuck. Like it
Yeah.
was like, oh nope, 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 nope,
Well,
nope.
it is, you hit it with plenty of height, but the reason that it ran out, basically it hit probably from my view like 8 to 10 yards behind the pin on the green, but it then hit such a downslope with no spin that it decided to just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna keep going.
Hit
Yeah,
new
there.
grooves, man.
But yeah, it was definitely like thinking about it now too, like playing it from like very benign, like probably normal conditions. A lot of those holes played so different from Tuesday. Because like number, we'll talk about 12, or sorry, 11 a little bit later on, but number 11 was actually a downwind hole when it's a normal wind. So if you think about it this way,
It was not that way for
yeah.
us.
So the if you can picture the entrance for Corica North or for the whole complex, the wind generally comes from if as if you were driving into the whole property. So that's generally where that wind
I
will
didn't
come
know that.
from. Yeah, and then a little bit of it will come in from the north side actually. So in theory, we were kind of playing it a little bit opposite, but opposite extreme. Um, like 6 should never be that hard in terms of driving. I feel like I hit like a driver and it went like 260 yards on that hole because it was into the wind. I think on if you go out there in normal conditions, you'll probably enjoy it a little bit more as far as the conditions go.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think like routing wise, I do like it. I'd be excited for you to play it in more normal conditions because some of those shots that you hit, I was just like, yeah, I don't think that's you and your ball striking. I think that's just really the fact that like you hit a 9 iron and it's like gusting 40 and the ball's gonna go wherever the wind takes it, right?
The thing I texted my dad, I said I said a lot of the bad scores are wind related, like 88 yards, can't go short, can't go long, flyer lie, wind whipping behind, shrug emoji. I guess I'm just not good enough with all those variables. And he said, it's very hard to score. I feel you. It's like, there was those moments I was like, I just don't have this. But I think that's the hard part with yesterday is like, I'm a low single digit. It's like, if you're like a really shitty ball striker and like, you're just like, oh, I'm an 18, it's like, everything we're
Yeah,
talking about
dog.
Corica North being easy, like, that's not going to be the case, man. That's just
That
not
was
going to be
not
the
this
case.
Sunday. Yeah.
That's not this
That
Sunday.
probably contributed to the pace of play. Plus, it's a new course, so I mean, we caught up to pace of play by the 11th hole, which also they let out. There was a group that I think did not show up in front of us, so it felt like we were behind. But in theory, we were perfectly fine because it was a twosome ahead of us. A group didn't show up, and then it was us that they let us tee off like 5 minutes after or something. So.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, any other thoughts as far as the rounding goes, especially on the back nine?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is I've thought about it is I think like the closing stretch is pretty electric. I mean, I think my uh yeah, because I mean I'm not gonna run through it all, but I mean as I've thought about it, like I think the back nine is like really excellent, and I think my favorite hole is 16, just because
Oh,
basically 16 is like a par five, which is like the perfect example of width and angles. There's water left. The closer you cut it along the left, the shorter you have in. Tons of room right, but a lot of kind of areas to get caught. And there's just kind of something about, again, please listen to my words very carefully. There was something about it that felt like it reminded me a lot of like, obviously without the scenery, but it felt very similar to like kind of what you feel at Sheep Ranch, where it's like the holes like playing along the cliff. And again,
mm,
unfortunately, this isn't a cliff. This is just like an embankment that goes into the water. And then there's the 12th hole from Corica South. But there is that feeling around like, that sort of feeling around like, okay, like how far left can I push it? How aggressive do I want to be? And same idea. Like I think that without the wind, like for me, I could hit like a huge, like super aggressive Wyndham Clark hammer cut and try to take it around the corner. But I think you could also probably just hit like two hybrid. Like you could just make it a three-shot hole and have it be like a very comfy par. But like for me, like probably the best shots I hit all day. I killed my driver. I had a hybrid from 243 yards into the wind onto the front green, and then of course I three putted. That green was a little spongy, I will say. That one did not roll the way I wanted it to, and I know, like I'm making excuses, but there's something I just thought that was really handsome about that. But I mean, to go like, like I don't know, I really thought that like 10 was a cool hole, and then 11's like what the fuck, and then it's like, but then I thought like 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 were all just like extremely good golf and very different. I mean, like to go from like 14 where you have a very drivable par four, and then 2 holes later have a par three that was playing like 208 into the wind. It's like it's like the par four feels like the par three, and the par three feels like a par four. But that's kind of cool. I'm into that.
yeah. Um, as far as the routing goes, well, I'll talk a little bit about it. I was looking back at the scorecard. Number 11 is supposed to be the second handicap. And then number one handicap is supposed to be number seven, which I'm a little bit baffled by that. I I I will say that part I don't understand because I
Jack,
feel like
just do it. Explain number 11. Just explain
so
it.
well I'll go so number I'll go seven first, which is supposed to be number one. Seven is supposed to be a one handicap, 407-yard par four from the back. I get it when it's more normal and benign conditions, it plays into the wind. And it is kind of this like slow, or sorry, not slow, small green that you really have to be able to pick your spot. Again, playability wise, I hit three wood there on Tuesday and had 90 yards in. And then this time I basically hit the same shot, but with driver. I hit driver Sunday and I had like 86 yards in or something like that. So I was like, okay, cool. Like if you're a good wedge player or a short iron player, you could basically hit three iron or three wood like a 240 or a 260 yard shot and you'll be fine. Then number 11 as far as routing goes. So on the scorecard, 51-yard par four. There's a lake right in front of you. The lake cuts the lake cuts in at 250, and you
And
either
it's like the most uncomfortable tee shot on the whole property too. It's like
yeah,
it's
and there's
oof.
trees literally like 15 yards to the left of you.
You
There's
told us where to
trees.
hit it, and I was like, wait, where do I? And then you said it.
Yeah.
I was like, well, what's right? You're like water. I was like, water right. Hit it directly along this tree line. Might hit the trees, and then get rewarded with a 208-yard
Yeah.
shot into the wind over water.
Okay, so I'll say it, benign conditions. I clocked it. The left side of the water is only like about like a 260-yard carry, and then the mega line is basically you have to fly it 295 for you to have a wedge in. So I get it. If it
Yeah,
was normal conditions, you might like you and I might be able to hit driver on the like the risk reward line, and we might be good.
I just hit driver into the wind and let
Yeah.
the wind just like swat it down.
Yeah,
Like
you hit the Wyndham Clark ball and like you had 208 yards in, which I was like, "Oh my God, that's so ridiculous." Again, conditions aside, um I could see that being the true number one handicap because like you're saying with an
they
angles,
just don't need the back tee box. Like they built that little back tee box just like I don't I don't like dude that whole actually if you think about it, if they moved the tee box up, it would bring the water even more in
more
play.
into play, yeah.
You'd actually, but then like it would feel more fair because it's like okay, man, like, but when it's like oh I took the more complicated route with driver and like hit it in the water still, it's like
Yeah.
I'm that is the one hole where it's like I'm not really sure what question
Yeah.
they're asking because like I guess the smart play is that if it's 260, you hit a 250 shot and then you have what like
215 yards in, which was what I had because I hit a shit drive on Sunday
yeah.
and I
And I'm
had
just saying like
213,
we're,
but
we're, we're
again, it
sitting
was playing
we're
really
just sitting here
badly
being
for
like okay like this place is like friendly and welcoming. It's like for
it's
most people if you think about those two numbers it's like that's like 3 wood 7 wood for like the average golfer.
but like we're this course is really friendly except for this one freaking hole.
I
It's like
it's the hardest golf course. It's the hardest hole on the entire golf course, I think. I mean, on
yeah,
the entire property, I think.
really I can see that. Yeah, I mean,
But then it's weird because then you go the next hole. It's like I like almost like whiffed my 5 iron and had pitching wedge in, and then you get some like pretty straightforward holes after that. But it's this one hole where it's like, what question are you asking other than just like corporal punishment? Like you're just like punch me in the face over. It's like you've knocked out all my teeth. Stop punching. I'm done. I'm
yeah.
done.
Yeah, because on Tuesday on the, again, benign normal conditions, I bailed out left and I still had kind of like you guys. I had 208 yards, but it was 208 but not the same angles as you guys. I had like the green looks huge from that angle from where you guys were, which was like 208 to the flag, probably playing like 230. That green looks triangular or like a diamond shape from that angle. So it is fair in that sense that like, hey man, yeah, if you bail left away from the water, you're gonna be far, but you're gonna have like a more approachable green. So that's what I like about it is like I I, I mean I've only played it twice, but that was kind of playing it both days. that was kind of my favorite hole because it was like asking a lot of questions.
That's so
Again,
you, Jack. Like that's you as a golfer asking questions nobody else is asking. Hey,
yeah,
I'm hitting my driver perfectly. What if I just get like the hardest driver on the planet? What if I just trade this? I trade this driver I'm hitting 300 yards out of the middle for the TSR 4 that I cannot hit. It's like okay, I
um,
mean you can do that.
yeah, but again, it's mostly to your point about width and angles. I think that's why I like that hole is because, hey man, like you could play it a few different ways. Again,
Yeah,
and
it's
you
true.
know this part as me is like I like golf courses that make you take out every single club in the bag. And I think on both days, I definitely hit, I think with exception of my gap wedge, because I just didn't have that number a ton, I think I hit almost every club twice on both rounds. So that's
Yeah,
pretty fun for me.
and I will say one thing I do like about that hole, even though I do think it's overcooked, there is a part of me that's like, because the North is friendly. Like I've definitely, I think I've shot even par a couple times on the front nine. So
Hmm.
what I think is going to be interesting is I think it's going to be. This is no offense to you, Hussey or Aaron, but I think the North could be similar, where it's like if people are going to go get it, like and break par for the first time, North could be a good option for that. I think it's probably similarly. I think it's a little harder than Peacock. But my
Mm.
point is, I could totally see somebody 2 under standing on 11T and being like, what I do here is kind of going to dictate. Like, I could be 2 under and make a 8 and like walk off here and just be like totally deflated.
Yeah.
But to your point, I think what's interesting about it is, and I'm not, and again, I'm not sure this is good architecture. I'd actually say it's probably not. But like, if that was me in that situation, it might be like we're gonna go 5 iron, and then we're gonna hit 7 iron way left, away from the water, and then hit a wedge on, and like maybe make the par putt, but do not make worse than five, and just play total defense.
Yeah.
But I think what's gonna be interesting is like it's just interesting where it's like the golf course is 11 is just a moment where it's like if you've got a round going, you need to like ask the questions 5 11's asking. And again, I don't actually know what questions 11's asking other than being really fucking hard. But it's going to be one of those things where I guarantee you someone's going to be 2 under for the first time ever on that hole and be like, "Oh my god, I'm really uncomfortable right now."
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll show a couple of videos from the mainly going to be the back nine, couple of shots that we took there, and then kind of just go through a little bit of hole by hole, but we'll go through it pretty quickly. I think that'll give people a great kind of idea of what to look forward to. Hopefully, if they watch this on YouTube too, they'll see some of our good shots, some of our bad shots. But yeah, we'll go through that. So I'm going to start with because I've got like a tee shot from number 10. If I can pull it up here, that's not.
Probably gonna have to explain this, Jack, because this is also a podcast. I don't know.
Yeah, no, we'll explain it. It's like, hey, yeah, if you're not watching on YouTube, you're fucked.
And this is the point of the podcast where everyone disappears.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's
Can you
actually
see the
cool.
video? Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is our yeah, this is hole number 10. It's a pretty friendly, I think, pretty friendly par four. You know, probably plays a little bit longer when it's a little into the wind. You can obviously see the water out to the right. So
I like how wide that guy is. Like how long his golf swing is. It's crazy.
it's the camera, man. It's the camera. So that water on the right side up here, that's like 275, 280 to fly it. I pushed it, I flew it fine, and I think I had like 130-ish in on there. So that's number 10 tee shot for you guys. That green, actually, because when we played it, I ended up on the left. It actually looks a lot bigger, I think, from that right side because of the angle. So that's the one thing I really like about the course is like, hey man, like the greens are gonna look different depending on where you end up putting your tee shot. So I think people are gonna find that pretty interesting. Like once you've played it a couple times, you're gonna know, okay, cool, man. Like I gotta be on this side of the fairway versus that side of the fairway.
It
Um,
matters.
it definitely does. And I think is it this video? Yeah, no, we're not gonna show that one. I'm just gonna do, so that was 4148, and then
Jack, this might need to go on just YouTube. I don't know about this as an audio medium.
yeah, we don't have to do this on on podcast. So next one, I'm just gonna show the green a little bit on same hole number 10. So you can kind of see here, this is, I just want people to see what we're talking about as far as the conditions go. Like you said, you can still see some of the sod lines, but I love the bunkering on this hole. It's pretty interesting. Um, what did you call them again as far as the style of bunker?
I believe it's called revetted. Revetted
Vetted
face
bunk.
is the
Yeah.
kind of bunker.
Yeah, so those are really really fun features for me. I mean, what I liked about it was like it's on every single part of the course. It's not like, hey man, here's one revetted bunker like Baylands,
It's just
you know, drive by
all good
shooting.
vibes, Baylands. All good vibes. We're gonna qualify. It's a separate podcast. Please.
It's not like that really crappy. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's not like because again, like Baylands has like three or four of those, but on the North Course, like there was, it's on every hole almost. So I found that really fun. Here's my favorite hole of the golf course. Um, it's gonna be number 11. Um,
I can't believe you picked that hole. It's your favorite.
I again, it just asks so many good questions that I really enjoyed.
It's
So
so you. No one knows what questions it's asking.
so yeah, if you take a look at the screen, basically the air tower is kind of the mega line. Like you would have to fly it like minimum like 275, 280 to be able to
That's not
cross
the
that
line.
side.
That's not the
And I'm
line.
just saying the mega line. And then if you go left by the tree lines to the left of it, those big trees, it's like a 260, 255 carry. So it's definitely fair and it asks you some really interesting questions here. So
But it's
as you'll
bowling
see,
40. It's a little bit different.
yeah. So I definitely didn't want to go into water, ended up left.
Yeah.
Um,
But hopefully y'all can see, like, it's not like a problem like that. It all looks just a little bit patchy, but
yeah,
it'll grow in.
yeah. And then I'll pull up the approach shot. I kind of want to show you what I was talking about here. This is the only annoying part is having to swap to the screens. Share that. So basically this shot was like, I think it's like 208 to back pin. And all I wanted, I was like, hey man, just middle of the green. Like, I don't even care if I have a
I
long
can't even
putt.
tell where the green is here.
Oh, sorry. I'll point that out to you.
It actually looks like it's way on the right.
No, you see where the tent is?
Yeah.
The, to the, like, just left of that little white spot on the screen, that's actually the flag. Yeah. So you can see the barber poles there. And then you can see if you look further left is the restaurant up there too. So yeah, normally you wouldn't have that tent there, but yeah, like basically the clubhouse from that view is where the green is. But yeah, 208 in, and it's like, hey man, just hit the green like you said. Like you got to pick your spots on on that hole specifically. All right, after that, I'm gonna show your tee shot on this one because you hit a great tee shot on this, I think. So this is your tee shot on number 12. Oh, great strike. You can see,
12.
yeah. I'm gonna show people, like, everybody watch his shirt just like blowing. That's how windy it was.
Well,
Um,
yeah, this is like 5-iron pitching wedge.
yeah, exactly. So it's a 12's a fun hole because it's like, hey
I
man,
like 12.
if you're really feeling driver, like
No,
go at
Jack,
it.
get out. God, you're insane. Like, it's not, never, ever is that a driver. God. I know you're
Shout out the
stacking, but
mayor.
Jesus Christ.
No, I'm just shouting out the mayor because that's what he did. That
But yeah.
and then we'll go through.
How many more of these we got? It's supposed to be a 40-minute podcast. We're at an hour
We're
and
almost
five.
done. We're almost done.
Good.
We're
I'm
just
done.
discuss.
I'm done with this.
We're trying
Oh wow.
something new, man. So this is number 13. I skipped a shot because you're gonna wait like 15 seconds for me. But um, as far as par threes, I
This whole
will
rules.
say, yeah, like as far as par threes, like I love this par three.
Yeah, this whole rules. The bunkering's awesome.
Yeah, the bunkering's awesome. I get like back to what we were talking about a little bit as far as the like the walkbacks though. That's not the worst walkback,
No, no, that's
but
fine.
yeah, that's like a
I'm saying when you have to
20,
walk
30
like
yard.
that tee shot where it's like it's literally adding like minutes,
Yeah, exactly.
like minutes to your round.
Yeah,
And the
so
other thing, which I should say, in Corica, this is my one piece of feedback. It's insane that there's golf carts on the North Course. Like it should be walking only. Like it just should be walking only. So part of the
ooh,
problem too is like if you have people behind you in carts and you're walking, they're gonna catch up super fast because they just
yeah.
zoom up to the tee box and you have to walk all the way around. It's
That's
not a
that's the
hard walk.
one.
People should, if you've got handicap reasons, you can get a dispensation to do it, but the average person should be walking Corica North.
If you got legs that work, you should walk it. That's the hot take from Ashton Moss today.
I
All
keep
right.
looking at I'm like, God, is that how I look from the back? It's like, oh, that's not me.
And then we've got number 14.
That looks
Um,
shoved as hell.
no, it wasn't. It was a low slinging, not slinging. It's a low draw. That's my stock tee shot now. Stop hating, man. Um, didn't notice this on this day specifically. Did not notice all that water on the left until
Yeah,
we played on Sunday. I was like, oh shit, that water's in play. So,
yeah. This is all I was saying earlier, where it's like, and then there's actually water right that I hit it into. Most people should hit it 230. Like it's 230 and then 200. I think that's kind of the play.
yeah. There's one I was gonna show on that hole also. I swear, I'm trying to zoom by these. This way we can illustrate some of your point as far as what we were talking about here, and you guys get to watch a shitty golf shot from me here. But I'm gonna show you a drive on one of the other holes. I do wish I got Aaron's drive on number 15 though. So that was
Yeah, that
a
was pretty epic.
fucking sick drive.
Yeah, you were way back compared to the other day.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's like if there's a little bit of wind, it becomes like a longer hole. Yeah, but you can see the water on the right side there. That cuts in right around like 275 or so. So if you fly
Yeah,
it,
that's where I hit mine.
yeah,
But I mean, but like literally, dude, you hit it 100 yards past this the other day.
yeah. So again, I think it's gonna play with a lot of like really fun variety there. This one I'm just gonna show to illustrate this tee shot. Um, this is gonna be number 15. Um, Actually, this is a shout out to Nico from Subtleties. Definitely some guys that we should try to have on the pod. I'll tell you more about him later. But he had a great drive, kind of similar drive to yeah, similar drive to Aaron.
Yeah, he's got a little whip in his swing,
Yeah, so that's
a
a
little
fun
little Sergio whip.
fun drivable par four. You can kind of
That's a
see,
super fun hole.
yeah, water left, and there's water right at like 270 on the right side. But I
I
mean, I hit
actually don't think. I think in normal conditions, I don't think this is. I think this is mini driver or three wood. I don't think this is driver
that's why I hit three
because
wood.
I hit like the wipiest driver ever and was like chipping greenside. Like if I had caught one good, it might have like flown the green.
Yeah, if you hit just like your high towering mini driver, that would have been
Yeah,
perfect. And then on 15, I'm just gonna show your tee shot on 15 because
that's
that was
probably my tee shot of the
sick.
day. That was the
Yeah. I don't know why you didn't make that your favorite hole. So,
I did
oh, 16. Sorry, yes.
16. Yeah.
Not 15. My bad.
So this is like a dog. This is a dog leg left, and you can't really see the water on the left from here. But you have a football field right.
Look at that. Oh. Beautiful swing. Right at the Star Wars tower over there would be a good line there, but
Yeah.
yeah,
But
really good
again,
try.
an example, if you take it more left, you get a shorter line in, but there's water. So that's just good architecture.
Yeah. Um, I don't have videos on 17 and 18 for some reason.
We're kind of
It'll be
lost in the
interesting.
sauce on those a little bit.
Yeah.
Like,
But yeah, those were, I mean, hopefully that helps you guys kind of illustrate like a little bit of the golf course. Obviously, we're not equipped to do drone stuff, nor do I think they allow drone stuff over there because it's so close to the airport. Yeah, we talked about our favorite holes. Any final thoughts, man?
um, no, I think, like I said, I think it's a welcome addition to the Bay Area,
Yeah.
and I think that especially once it's all grown in, I think, like I said, I think Corica is going to be one of the just unequivocally one of the best public golf facilities in the country. So
Yeah. I'll say I'm very biased as far as like my like you have played a lot more golf across the country and you've played a little bit outside of the country too, but I just generally think like when I see a facility like this, like one, not just because it's two really good golf courses, but also the way that the way that it's ran by the family that owns it and the way that they try to keep a tight ship on everything. Like that's for me, like Corica Park's been a kind of a baseline for how I treat other golf courses when the few times I've played outside of the state and outside of the area. And um yeah, I think like outside of it, just like working its way into kind of like really good practice facilities, like the community is pretty welcoming. They do a lot of these like really cool events that open up the game to different people. So I'm always appreciative of how how the family that owns it runs it. But to our point, like the golf course, like we said earlier, just needs a little bit of time to mature. I think it's going to be pretty good over the summer around like June timeframe or so. Like you know, it's going to be baked out. It's going to be really fun, and I'm excited for people to play it. I'm excited, like really, what the two times I played, I'm like, man, like I wish this was like a 36 hole day because, like you said, like taking out Nick Bertassi up here in October, that's kind of exactly what I've been thinking about stepping onto that golf course. Um, yeah, appreciate you guys listening to us. Very excited for you all to play a really, really fun, really cool, fun but fair golf course. Excited for you guys to play my favorite hole so far, and excited for you guys to play Ashton's favorite hole so far, and see what you guys think. But yeah, we'll catch you guys out there, and see you guys soon.
peace.